see it's getting darker and darker, and there's just no way right now for these drivers to know exactly what's going to happen.
These guys are going to have to be really, really careful and tiptoe around the track until it's either stuck.
Not even 10 minutes into this race, and I feel like we've got enough strategy going on for a whole event, but still a long, long way to go.
There's Yellowstone, there's Yosemite, but for racing fans and for Grid Life's Elkhart Classic, the destination is Road America, the National Park of Speed.
Free ride in the front of the field here. Look at Emil Tab up the inside for the race lead as we head down to the first corner.
And these guys have no idea what they're coming into. Look at this field. They're 2 wide, 3 wide, a couple places slip and slide.
Side by side for the race lead, 54, 48 through 3 and 4, working lap number 60, 110 laps to go. Yusuf Ghali, power move to the bottom of the racetrack, making the short way work. They're going to touch down the hill.
This will be a great run for Fuller here.
Yeah, typically ran off the track in the final quarter of that lap 4 to get a massive.
Here he comes.
Does he have a look?
Oh, big block here by Sanfilippo into the Carrasco spin Fuller toward turn 1, and Sanfilippo hangs on, he's loose. No! And he crashes hard in the exit of turn number 2. Don't try him here, boys. They're going to do it. Gritsko backs out. They touch. They're going to crash. Gritsko going to slam the attenuator hard into the wall, and Sarah Tessin hits him as well. And big damage on these cars. That's a huge hit.
Number 4, people are struggling for grip, going out of every single lane, trying to then run. It's getting really insane.
Powered by AWS for the Intercontinental GT Challenge, powered by Pirelli at the Indianapolis 8-hour. We are 7 hours and 18 minutes into this 8-hour event.
John Miller way deep on the brakes to the inside of turn number 1 and 2. The spin, the 3 car gets turned around in front of the car.
James Howden looking for a place to go, but he's got Austin Cobb to the inside. A bit of a gap behind. I think that's about 15 or 16 spot as they come out of turn 3. Big slide for this.
Getting a run. He's got it. Going to be a drag racing line. Final corner. Checkered flag waving. Here they come. At Virginia National Raceway. To the line. Thompson, Darling, door to door. Banging doors. Fender to fender. I can't believe what we just saw.
With only 3 rounds remaining in the season, drivers in the Outsider Racing League have a lot to be afraid of. Competitors, the point standings, the upcoming racetracks, and the threat of making mistakes. But while there's no monsters under the bed to scare the drivers at night, there are monsters under their seat, and that threat is very, very real. Welcome to Dover, Delaware and Dover International Speedway, the Monster Mile, the 1-mile concrete racetrack. They call it self-cleaning because of the way the cars slide off the banking after a collision. It is a huge threat to drivers competing for this championship. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Connor Horn tonight for the 3rd round of 5 in the Outsider Racing League chase. Still finishing the 2020 season, Connor, tonight 160 laps at one of the scariest racetracks in racing.
Yeah, one of the scariest tracks indeed. There is no doubt in my mind that a lot of these chase drivers in the field tonight are going to be scared of what could happen to their chase hopes. Their dreams could be dashed in just one fatal wreck. You know how this track is. The track can get blocked. You got nowhere to go. You got nowhere to avoid. It could be trouble if you get involved in something really early on. We got guys like Jeff Wright, AJ Travado. They've got to be careful if they still want a shot at this championship.
Well, again, we only have a couple of races remaining here in the season. We'll head to Iowa next week, and then Atlanta is the season finale in just a few weeks. But having a look at the point standings, one of the drivers we have to mention is the one we're looking at here right now. It's Jeff Wright. He was the winner at our last race at Sonoma before the new year. He is currently 8th in qualifying, and I'm really curious to see what he can do here tonight. This is a challenging racetrack. I think probably the biggest challenge that he will have for the remainder of the season. This is also a relatively small field here tonight, Connor. We see on the qualifying order, we've just got over 20, which means that this race could either be a total mess or super clean and green from flag to flag.
The one good thing about it being a small field is that if you don't finish well, if you're at the front of the field at least, you're not completely out of it. But at the same time, if you're 10, 15, 20 points back like guys like Bryce Calusa are, it's going to be very tough to make those points up without there being a mistake from the guys up at the front of the pack. So small field can have some benefits, but can also have some trouble coming into today. A lot of these drivers got to be on their toes to make sure they don't get taken out early.
160 laps will be competing here tonight. It's 1 mile around this racetrack. It's going to feel like a whole lot longer than that. I got the opportunity to test this track a little bit earlier today, and with this high downforce package, Connor, there's so much to be concerned about. You're carrying so much speed in these corners that the slightest mistake, the slightest slip up will take you up into the marbles and straight into the concrete walls here. It is a super unforgiving racetrack, and especially with the higher cornering speeds that we're seeing with this higher downforce package, this is a huge concern for everybody just to keep it out of the fence tonight.
Yeah, one weird thing about it is that you're right. It kind of does drive like the high downforce package. It's supposed to be low downforce, but it really doesn't feel any different from when it was high downforce. Like you said, the corner speeds are still extremely high, and it's going to that's really going to become a problem when you if you get into a long run, as we've seen last season at Dover. If you get into a long run, you risk blowing your tires. I believe half the field blew their tires on a long run last season. I was one of them. That was my worst race of the season. The monster will take a bite out of you if you're not careful. You have to be so conservative on the tires because of those high corner speeds. You can't afford to make a mistake. If you slide those tires once, you're in trouble.
Dover, Delaware, population of about 36,000 people. Again, this racetrack has a couple different sizes held within it. Of course, there's that, I think it's a 3/8 mile or something like that in there on the inside. 4 turns, 1 mile. It's a big track. That's what we're using here this afternoon for our next round of the season. Dover was originally paved with asphalt. It was replaced with concrete in 1995. And Connor, the concrete has been sort of one of the denoting characteristics of this place since it was replaced in 1995, it's super abrasive, and tire wear is the concern that you brought to me before we even started the broadcast. Was, are the drivers going to be able to make it through a fuel run without blowing a right front tire?
Yeah, and like I was talking about just a minute ago, last season, we had a full fuel run, but the tires would not last through a full fuel run. That was when I believe the track for that race was very hot and slick. I think we have some cooler temps here today, so I don't know what exactly the situation is going to be, but you have to be careful on the right front tire. If you wear that right front out too much, you're not going to be able to turn through the corner, and cornering speeds are big, so if you can't get through the corner fast, you're going to lose a lot of time on a long run. And you're probably going to have to try to drive on the right rear more than the right front. It's very difficult to do, but if you are able to use that rear tire more than the front, you're going to be in a good spot.
Starting lineup at the bottom of the screen: Alex Bell, Jeremy Miller on the front row. First career pole for Alex Bell as he rolls off in that first position in that Sim Motorsports number 15 Camry. Eric Hutton on row number 2 in that number 88 car. We'll let the rest of the grid scroll on the bottom of the screen. Not a lot of time here on the pace lap to get your tires warmed up and get your mind in the zone essentially here tonight. This is a big focus racetrack, and it's a very rhythmic racetrack, just like Bristol. I always like to think of this place as basically a 2x size Bristol, Connor, and it drives in a very similar way, but the average speed is a whole lot higher.
Yeah, the speeds are higher, and the line is completely different. You really want to be on the top of Bristol. Here you got to be all the way down on that seam on the very bottom, and this is going to be very difficult for these drivers these first 5 laps to get into a rhythm. Like you said, a short pace lap, a lot of drivers aren't going to be prepared for what they're about to, they're going to have to deal with the monster today. I don't know if these drivers are ready, but we'll have to wait and see.
Monster mile, 160 laps, about an hour worth of racing for the Outsider Racing League. The chase continues. Green flag flies, and we're racing at Dover. 3 wide already in the middle of the pack as they head down to turn number 1. They've gotten it sorted out. Bell rockets away with the race lead. Eric Hutton and Jeremy Miller side by side. The 30 car goes a long way around the outside with that yellow spoiler. That denotes that he is a chase competitor.
Look at AJ Shirvato, big move down to the bottom under Eric Hutton, getting to the 3rd position quite easily. A great launch by Bell. He's going to lead that first lap, get the first bonus point of the race. And how about Jeremy Miller? Not someone we usually see at the front, but this chase, he has really stepped it up. He's second at Vega, had a strong run at Sonoma. He's trying to make something happen here.
Now Miller already up to 2nd place. Bailey Turner has a rear mirror full of Eric Hutton and that number 88 behind him. Then Adam Cabot, who's won a handful of races this season. There's Sam Devontier of 99 points. Calusa in the 20 on the bottom of the racetrack as they exit turn number 4. And so far, so good. Nobody's hit the fence yet, but especially with the addition of the safer barrier at the exits of these corners, the track has been narrowed significantly. That makes the margin for error that much smaller.
Yeah, you have to be careful about that. A lot of drivers have been caught off guard because of that safer barrier. It's really not much of a change in the track, but it makes a big difference because at Dover, you have to use all of the track to get a better corner. So Alex Bell almost got the ball there. You have to use every single inch of the track at a track like Dover, and if you overstep those boundaries too much, you're going to hit the wall. You're likely going to be in either the inside or the outside wall, and that's where we can see a big one potentially happen.
Bell, half a second out front, already getting into a rhythm. There's Joshua Banks in the 36 car. He started the night in 4th. He currently remains there, but here comes Bailey Turner with a look up the inside, unable to get there. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll notice the ticker. The yellow numbers are your chase competitors, and those are the drivers with so much on the line. As we came into the night, the points leader, I believe, still
Bailey Turner.
Bailey Turner, yes, by only 4 points over Jeff Wright. Then it's Travato, Miller, and Calusa, the rest of the top 5. Calusa gained 3 spots at Sonoma. Jeff Wright gained 4. He was the biggest mover. Jonathan Hernandez finished 8th, or I should say is 8th in the points. Dropped 6th after Sonoma.
Hernandez had a bad run, but Jeff Wright, that's exactly what he needed. He talked about for, I believe, like 3 weeks how good he was at the road course, how he was probably looking forward to Sonoma. He delivered, dominated that race, won by at least 20 seconds, I would assume. You know, that's exactly what he needed to get back into a points fray after a disappointing run at Dega. He's right there, 4 points behind. Right now, he's got to make up some spots right now because Bailey Turner's still ahead of him at the moment, gaining points on him.
There's Austin Carpe to the bottom of the 25 and Tim Downey Jr. They're going to drag race each other off into turn number 3. Multi-groove, Connor. There's been some changes to the way that these cars kind of make speed around here in terms of how the track reacts. There's also been that adjustment to running up against the wall, which we probably won't see a whole lot tonight. Has this groove widened out at all here at Dover, or is it still very much single file? What's your experience been with this track?
My experience is you want to be on that bottom line. Alex Bell got too far on that bottom. He actually hit the apron. Here comes Jeremy Miller with a run for the race lead, but it's really tough to get that middle line going. You could use it to make a run out of a corner, but if you want to try to legit pass someone on the outside in the middle of the corner, it's going to be tough to do without a mistake from the guy on the bottom or just being on newer tires. I think that bottom line, especially for saving tires, that bottom line is where you want to be. And if you get off it, you might risk burning that right front. You got to be careful.
Miller following Bell. Starting lap number 10, these are going to click off very quickly. I mentioned at the green flag that this race would take approximately 57 minutes from flag to flag. That's a pretty short race. I'm not convinced we're going to see green from flag to flag. There's Casey Lacatas going by the aforementioned Jonathan Hernandez, who struggled at Sonoma, currently running in 18th place. Not a great start for the 50 car either. A little bit higher up the grid, though, there's Brian Chambliss in the 25. He's got Sam Devontier, Austin Carpe, Tim Downey Jr., all strung in a line behind him.
You can see Tim Downey Jr. get in here. He's had a disappointing 2 seasons. After that championship, really not much. Still on a long winless drought, trying to get through the field. And Chambliss didn't get much practice, kind of holding up these guys, trying to get into a groove here in 11th right now. As we're already seeing, just what we were talking about, that multi-groove, there's not much of it. Everyone playing into that bottom line as best they can.
Out up front, Alex Bell leads the way, but Jeremy Miller is not too far back. 3/10 now. But look at AJ Stravato. He's got a rear mirror full of Joshua Banks into turn number 3. I'm interested to see how closely Joshua can follow the 33. For the longest time, the discussion was arrow push, arrow wash, but Banks, he's right there, has a look to the inside. Stravato has to leave him space.
That was a big block. He put Banks on the apron there, but he's going to come up into him. Contact. Stravato's going to get loose. Here comes Bailey Turner to the bottom. That's a big block to make on lap 13. It's going to cost him 36 some time.
I think there's a lot of note-taking right now by all these drivers in these different situations, and I think we'll see some notes being regurgitated later to the teachers. And I think AJ Stravato just learned something from Joshua Banks, and I think Bailey Turner did as well, watching it from the rearmost angle, watching the 36 get up into the 33. That's a note taken, and I think the elbows are out here a little bit early, Connor, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I think what we learned right there is how much these drivers are going to value track position. Stravato did not want to drop out of the top 3. He wants to stay at the front where if we get a restart, he has a shot at the lead on that bottom line. And then that big block down the front straightaway all the way down to the apron basically shows how much he really values that track position. He does not want to drop anywhere far back. I think Joshua Banks is going to take exception to that. He said something over the radio. He wasn't happy with it. We'll see if he can get back to him. But Stravato got a bit of a gap because of that incident.
Interesting to hear the different sides of the story there. No drivers will ever really agree. They might have different perspectives on how everything works, but that's the nature of the being. Brian Chambliss eating up the rear tailpipes of the 92 of Matthew Close, who I don't believe we've seen in a little while. Started 9th, he's dropped 1 spot to 10th and might lose another one here to the 9th.
He had a rough time. He was at Sonoma, but had a rough time. Not really strong, so he's just trying to get some experience on the sim base where he doesn't run too often, just trying to do something here in ORL. He's had a decent first season. Just trying to get his bearings a little bit. Good top 10 run so far.
Exiting turn number 2, leaving plenty of space on the outside to catch the car. And there is Jeff Wright chasing Eric Hutton and Adam Cabot in the 77. He looks like he's climbed a spot or 2. Yes, he has. As you see Jeff Wright pop out on driver's left to the inside of the 88. He might be able to go right on through. He does.
Ooh, I think we got a wreck on the front stretch. I'm not trying to see. Austin Carpe slow into turn 1 here.
Yeah, slow. He's got some damage as well, some heavy right side damage, so he's obviously been into someone or something. Here's a look. Came up out of turn number 4, and yeah, he's going to get the fence there, bounce off, get clipped by the 16. Yep, Clifton Cockrell.
Whoa, look at you. I think that was Hernandez who just barely avoided that. I'm surprised there was no yellow for that. Everyone stays going straight.
Somehow missed it. We'll carry on and continue. Meanwhile, the 2 purple cars, Miller and Stravato, they're going at it for second. For the longest time, I thought Miller was going to be the leader at the end of all this, but Stravato has actually caught the 30 car before he could get to the lead.
Just could be a case of Stravado just biding his time, saving his tires. Meanwhile, Miller probably didn't save his tires as well. And look what the line Stravado ran. He went to the middle to get a run out of the corner, to the bottom, out of turn 2 to get a run. So he's experimenting a little bit with that middle line. Just doesn't seem to be getting a good enough run to get by the 30 right now. He's all over the rear bumper of Miller right now. The 30 not willing to block like Stravado is willing to block Banks.
30's going to run up a racetrack a little bit too much. Got out of the groove. 33 will take that opportunity, smell blood in the water, and will take a bite. And through goes Stravado to second place.
I think it's good for Stravado because he's given himself some room to Banks, who I'm sure is looking for the rear bumper of Stravado at this point.
There's Ryan Carlisle in the 71. Now, he won an oval race at Charlotte not too long ago, only a handful of races ago, and really showed his true talent. Tonight he started 10th. He's actually gained 2 spots. He just got one way from Eric Hutton, and is continuing a charge forward. And he's significantly faster than at least a handful of cars in front of him, so we'll keep an eye on his lap times and see if he can crack inside the top 5 here in the next little bit. But let's keep an eye on the 71. I don't think we've seen all of them just yet.
Yeah, I think he'll be at the top 5 by a race end. I think if he did run the full season, he obviously came in mid-season, but if he ran a full season, there's no doubt in my mind he could have snuck into that chase and maybe had a chance at the championship, but didn't come in too early. But he's definitely showing them that he belongs on oval races, let alone road courses. He's got a little bit of right front damage. Doesn't seem to be affecting him too much, but Eric Hutton in that 88, he has even more right front damage in the 71.
I didn't actually see where he had gotten that. As far as we were concerned, he really hadn't hit much of anything at all. Bryce Calusa it was an internet-related issue. I thought he had stopped on the racetrack. Joshua Banks is about to get by Jeremy Miller. He's running a little bit quicker right now.
Yeah, we're starting to see those right front fenders get banged up. Matthew Close damage on that right front. Clifton Cockle's actually part that Austin Carpe has done for the night. And I think we're starting to see who saved the tires better, starting to get to the front. Jeremy Miller had the lift there for Banks. Banks didn't give him any room off the corner. Here comes Bailey Turner to get that 5th position away from Miller, as Miller's stuck in that middle line and he can't go anywhere. He's starting to fade.
Give Bailey Turner 4th place, actually, and Miller is really struggling. Got caught on the outside. He's going to lose 3, 4, maybe 5 spots now. Here comes Jeff right up the inside to take a position away. That will put the 30 car back to 7th after running up as high as 2nd earlier in the race.
And I think he's going to be the first one I'm looking at to blow a tire. We talked about it last season. Tires were getting blown left and right. If anyone's going to blow a tire, it's going to be that 30. He's having trouble getting through the center of the corner, losing a lot of time, losing a lot of speed through the center of the corner. That right front's got to be heating up really badly at this point in the run.
And 3/10 slower than the drivers around him last lap. Have a look at this differential here. What is that? 2.3 seconds. 27 laps in. This right front is not going to last very long on that 30 car.
He's already half a second off of Alex Bell and another 10th off of AJ Stravado. Stravado, definitely the fastest car on the track right now, but saying that, Banks was actually at a quicker time last time by, but that 33 is hunting for the race lead. He needs these bonus points crucially to get back into that championship race.
Stravado currently 10 points back from Bailey Turner. Remember, no resets, no funny business. Whoever has the most points at the end of the season will win the championship, but right now, that is Bailey Turner in that 24 car. And if you remember how Bailey's season started, this has been a pretty well-documented situation this year. He started his season with 4 races all outside the top 10, and 3 of those finishes were worse than 20th. Then he went on a tear, 1st, 4th, 5th at Darlington, Rockingham, and Kentucky, 11th at Road Atlanta, then 3rd, 6th, 1st, then a 13th at Charlotte, then 2 consecutive 3rds at Talladega and Sonoma. Bailey Turner's had a really good season, and here comes a 77. He wants by to take 4th.
Clifton Cockrell's coming through all these lead cars right now on newer tires, so we got to watch that, make sure he doesn't get in the way of anyone. Got to be careful. New tires versus old tires, definitely a problem at a track like Dover. You can get ran up on in a hurry, just get completely cleaned out.
So Cockrell was going to tiptoe his way through the field. Meanwhile, up in the front, Alex Bell and AJ Stravado run nose to tail. I think that 33 is just a little bit quicker. Now, we haven't seen the monster really rear its ugly head just yet, other than the one small incident with Austin Carpe. So are we due for a crash at some point? I think so. Where it's going to happen in the field, I don't know yet. But remember the last time we came here to Dover, Connor? It was sort of a mess, especially towards the end.
Yeah, you had the wreck on the restart. They actually had the wreck before they even got the restart. And we had a wreck under yellow. A lot of chaos happened. I don't even remember who won that race. That's how crazy it went. All I know is I had a terrible time. I threw a tire, got pushed through pit road by Yusuf. I had a lot of good moments that season, but that was a terrible moment. I got dumped by Brian because I was blocking him. It was just a really tough race. That's what the monster can do to you. You can be at the top of the world, but that monster would take a bite out of you and just completely take you down. And while he hasn't reared his ugly head yet, like you said, he has taken bites out of specific cars. A lot of drivers with damage. Cockrell and Car Payoffs got that. Jeremy Miller struggling with his right front tire. Carwell with damage. Eric Hutton, Matthew Close. Bryce Calusa, it's internet related, but maybe the monster has something to do with that, and a lot more drivers with right front damage. Tim Downey Jr., Sam Devantier, Jonathan Fernandez, a lot of drivers already having some trouble.
16 of Cockrell going to hug the car along the apron and get through. 33 of Bell is not going to, 33 of Stravato is not going to fight that. Alex Bell probably won't either. He's going to chop the nose of 16 here, but he'll probably have to let him by. He's going to go on through the bottom and turn 4. That was a little dicey, but 16 is back through.
Gives a 33 another run at the 15. He's said over the radio, this dirty air sucks. It's supposed to be low downforce, but dirty air will still affect the front nose of that car a little bit because of the high speeds we run at Dover. You can't really move around too much. The middle line just isn't there quite yet. As 33, as you say, that he is trying to get a run through the middle, turning down to the bottom, but it's just not working quite yet.
It's interesting to watch. I think we've seen drivers be able to follow a little bit better than we have in the past. Again, probably thankfully due to that smaller spoiler on the back of these cars. But the corner speeds here, at least at the start of the runs, are still super high. Now, I think those speeds bleed off quite a bit by the end of the run. But a 21.6-second lap on a 1-mile track is incredibly fast. Crazy high average speeds. And I think if we're going to see a crash, I think it'll be on a restart with fresh tires because everyone's just pushing so hard to get the speed out of those tires.
Yeah, to a restart with old tires as the leader's going to go by Corey Steinhauser, who's getting a lap 33, barely able to clear him. As that's what really we were talking about I was talking about those restart crashes. That's really what happened. You got guys on old tires and new tires, and it's easy to spin the tires, even on new tires. It's so easy to spin your car out because of the bank gain. You just try to accelerate, you're just going to go straight around. So you got to be careful on a restart if we do get a restart because everything's looking pretty clean so far. Meanwhile, Alex Bell kind of getting away from Stravato a little bit again, and Joshua Banks starting to reel these two back in.
Yeah, Banks was closing on AJ Stravato last time we checked. Bailey Turner and Jeff Wright just did a little position swap here for a moment. Looks like Wright's going to try to pull back away. Got to get by the 65 here into turn 1, but door only opens on corner end.
Here goes Jeremy Miller. Oh, Steinhauser into a wall coming down the track. Miller's way up the track, getting the 7th position to Ryan Carwell as they're going to try to sneak by the 65 here who's into the wall again.
Miller's struggling immensely. I mean, he's still running lap times that are some of the slowest on the racetrack, at least in the top half of the field. And he was one of the fastest cars at the get-go, so it just goes to tell you that it's all about conservation tonight, Connor. I think that's the key. And Alex Bell's been doing a pretty good job of managing the gap. He hasn't completely driven away, and he isn't completely giving that gap up either. So I think there's a good balance that Alex Bell has found so far, and off his first career pole has led a pretty good portion of the laps tonight, all of them.
And it's key. That's a key part of it, maintaining a decent gap. You think about, racing, you want to get like a 2-second, 3-second lead. That's just not the case in this certain tire model. If you take a 2-second, 3-second lead, you're probably going to give that back in a few laps and then some, and then just drop through the rest of the field. Kind of saw that with Miller. He might have been overstepping his stuff, falling almost outside the top 10 at this point, while Bell hasn't gotten too big of a lead, about half a second at the most. I think that's his biggest lead right now is about 4/10. So he's doing a really good job of not going too far out to the front of the field. He's just able to stay in front of that 33 without getting him too close to the 15 where the 33 might make a move on him. So he's done a really good job maintaining that gap.
Brian Chambliss running in 11th right now behind Matthew Close, has Bryce Calusa trying to run him down, and Calusa is currently 5th in the point standings. Now, this is a driver that I wasn't really expecting to honestly be this high in the standings, but it's been due to a couple race wins, or I should say a race win that he got back at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta in the 9th race of this season. It's been sort of all over the board for him this year. It's been a good finisher, 2 or 3, then followed by a 13th or 11th or a 12th. But Calusa right now is trying to get by Brian Chambliss. He might be a top 10 car today and just continue to pick up those points as he gets a block thrown by Chambliss as he got a big moment out of turn.
Oh, Chambliss. Sorry, he is way loose. Chambliss really struggling. Calusa trying to go around the outside. I think Chambliss just gave it to him. Got to watch that outside wall. Calusa's able to avoid him. That's for 11th. But we were talking about a bit of inconsistency for Calusa. He's been really great at the road courses. Got that win in Road Atlanta. Had a solid run at Sonoma used a strategy last week of perfection to get through the field because he didn't have good qualifying effort, but he just hasn't had the outstanding results that he needs to get to the front of the pack right now. He didn't have the best of runs at Dega. I think he got barred back in a second pack at Dega. He had a good finish at Sonoma to get him back in it, but he's going to have to do a lot more than just 11th place tonight if he wants to stay in that championship battle.
For the top spot, Alex Bell having to hold off from AJ Stravato. AJ's there to the quarter panel for the race lead. 46 laps into this 160-lap race. And our pit stops coming soon here, Connor. How long do we have to go before we start seeing drivers in pit lane?
I don't think it's going to be, I don't think we're going to stay out for too much longer. I think on a full fuel tank, you can barely go 80 laps, and we're on 80%. So I assume maybe in the next 15, 20 laps, you might see people diving in. I don't believe you can make it to lap 80, so a one stop, in my opinion, I think is out of the question, but you just never know. If you want to do that two stop, you probably got to pit around lap 50 to 55, maybe just after 55.
Joshua Banks, Adam Cabot fighting for third place. Now Cabot is one I'm going to have to watch today. 7th to 4th and continues his climb. He's going to look for third here in just a moment. This is a driver that's won a handful of races this season. He's not in it for the points. He's just here to win races, and Connor, he knows how to do it and is continuing to climb up inside the top 5 here and setting his sights on that top spot.
And Dover's a really good track for him, sort of a home track for him because I believe he is from Jersey. He did really well saving the tires last season. He was able to rip through the field at Dover. He's able to save the tires. He's good at wrapping that bottom line when he needs to in roads. He might have won last season. I still don't remember off the top of my head, but I know he ran really well here. They probably deserved to win this race, so he's definitely going to be a threat to take the win away from one of these chase drivers.
Alex Bell, every time he has a driver run up to his tailpipes, he's able to drive back away. He lets him get there, and then he pulls another gap, and it's interesting to watch that because typically if a driver starts to show signs of weakness, they can't really regain any of that strength back, but Bell has been managing that gap, as I said, letting drivers get close, push the issue just a little bit, then burn their stuff up and drop back again for another 5 to 10 laps.
Yeah, I think it's by design. He backs up to them because he's trying to save those tires as best he can without getting that big gap like we were talking about. You go by David Mott Jr., he's pulling it into the pits, but it's a good strategy. You don't want to get too big of a lead, and if you're able to back up to second place and keep that position, that's perfect. You just got to be careful. It seems like when the 33 gets to his rear bumper, that's his go-to, you know, kind of his sign to just step on the throttle and drive a little bit so he doesn't lose that track position.
Here's Bailey Turner and Ryan Carwile. This is for 6th place. Carwile also moving forward for the entirety of this race so far. And look at the run he's building on corner exit. Turner just doesn't have the grip mid-corner.
Pit stops happening. Jeremy Miller, we saw, was struggling badly. He pits from 8th place here. Sam Devantier is going to follow him. We didn't even really talk about how difficult it is to get into pit road, especially under green. You've got to be really careful on the brakes.
Yeah, the pit road was an issue last time around. We had a couple drivers miss it. A couple drivers run into each other. I think you were the recipient of, of a nudge from last season.
That was Yusuf. That was not. I was not happy about that, to say the least. But that's how difficult it is. You've got to be able to pit on your own, because if you're trying to pit with someone else, you're probably going to get hit, or you're going to run into someone. It is very difficult to get on and off of pit road. So we might see that happen again, especially with how packed up Stravato and Cabot are. If they pit on the same lap, it might be trouble for them, as the top 5 still stay out on the track.
Curious to see what drivers will make another pit stop. There's Matt Wagner jumping to pit lane from 15. Brian Chambliss will stay out. Another handful of takers. Miller is back out on the racetrack with a 14.7-second pit stop. Rolling along the apron here, and you got to wait until you get onto the back straightaway, past that blue line, then you can pull up on the track. Bryce Calusa and Eric Hutton fighting for 9th, and Joshua Banks going a little wide here in turn 4, left right on through.
Meanwhile, the 77, Adam Cabot, he has gotten up to 2nd place. As Alex Bell says over the radio, he is going to pit this lap, so we'll see if he can make it on the pit road safely. We'll see if Cabot and Stravato try to overcut the leader here as they go by Jonathan Hernandez.
Yeah, this is tricky. The lap car, Hernandez slowed down Bell just a little bit. He's on the apron. Can he hang on to it? They're all going to come. Can they hang? Oh, the 77 sideways into pit lane, and he'll save it. But that was an awkward entry, to say the least, Connor.
And everyone else comes behind him. I think Eric Hutton definitely sped in the pit road. Bailey Turner and Hutton joined him. Like I said, I think Hutton sped. I don't know how neither of them spun. I thought Stravato was going to hit him for sure. I wonder how much time they lost to everyone else in the field there.
Oh, that definitely got some style points. I know it wasn't necessarily quick, but that was about as out of control as you can be without crashing a car. And they're all going to finally make it to their pit stalls here.
I'm wondering if any of these guys are going to cycle out to the lead. I don't think any of them hit each other. I thought for sure Cabot was going to hit Bell, and the 33 was going to run into Cabot. That was good driving by them to save it. I wonder if any of them got a speeding penalty. I'm not quite sure on that, but I think they might all be okay. Oh, he's a race off pit road. Bell is just barely going to be able to get out in front of Travato. That first pit stall doing wonders.
So Bell will rejoin the racetrack in front of the 33 of AJ Stravato. The 77 will come out in third. He'll have to repass that 33. That's a challenge within itself. Goes straight up to the outside wall to find some grip.
Oh, Bell. He must have sped off the pit road. He's coming in again. Oh, no.
Out of the race lead. He led every lap so far and will come on down.
Wow, that is a huge blow. He was fast tonight, and he's probably going to go 1 or 2 laps down because of that speeding penalty. My goodness.
Meanwhile, Adam Cabot and AJ will continue, and so Stravato will now cycle out to the race lead, and now the 33 and 77's battle is the one for the top spot. Jeff Wright is following them, and I think hit close to the same lap as them. 1 lap later than these guys. So, whoa, the 65 almost got into them as they went by.
I think actually the 30, Miller, he pit a few laps earlier than the race leaders. I think he's actually going to cycle out to the race lead for now, but older tires not going to work. Joshua Banks, the race leader at the moment, he's going to come down to pit road. He's sliding the tires, and that's going to be close. He might have sped as well. Not quite sure on that.
So Jeremy Miller recovering from his early woes. I wonder if he's learned a thing or two about conserving tires here for the next run, or whether it's hard to break out of those habits, Connor, once you realize, where you make your speed. Can you get out of that mindset and slow yourself down, or is it something that you have to practice a lot more?
It's something you have to practice for it, but you also just have to have a feeling for the car to be able to do something like that. I think Miller, he definitely learned something. I have a feeling he probably knew what he did wrong, and he'll probably be able to right that wrong. He's on older tires than the rest of the leaders, so he's just going to have to be really careful here as to how hard he's going to drive that car. Meanwhile, Joshua Banks, he's on pit road. He did say something over the radio, and I believe, he's still staying in pit road. He also got a speeding penalty, so I believe that's 2 top 5 drivers that pretty much took themselves out of it here. And
the trouble for Alex Bell is these laps are so short on fresh tires that he's actually gone 3 laps down, which is a real shame considering he had led, as I mentioned, the entire first portion of this race, 54 laps. And he's so many laps down that, he's really going to be 2 once everything cycles out, but that's still going to require a handful of cautions to get him back on the lead lap, which we haven't seen a single yellow flag yet today, Connor. It's looking unlikely we'll get some.
Yeah, and it's starting to get really spread out. Everyone got through their green flag pit stops pretty orderly. We saw some hairy moments, but pretty much everyone doing their part to keep it straight and not wreck. As Ryan Carwell actually looks like he's trying to run the fuel out all the way. I doubt he's trying to take the lap 80, but he's getting some laps led, getting some experience up at the front without any dirty air here. So 6-second lead over, I believe 3 or 4 more drivers who haven't pit. Matthew Close, Brian Chambliss, Case Lakatos, potentially trying to catch a yellow here. Lakatos almost got ran up on by Eric Hutton, so all these drivers got to be really careful. These guys on old tires got to make sure they don't get ran over.
Adam Cabot feeling pressure from Jeff Wright. Whoa, the 9-car way up the racetrack. That is Brian Chambliss, currently running in 3rd. He just had a big moment.
He's 65 laps, got to watch the tires here. I don't think he has a tire down, but if anything, he's getting close. He's going to have to dive down the pit road right here. He's going to spin. Is he able to save it? Nope, he's going to hit the wall.
There's jumping back live to catch 9-car in the fence, entering pit lane. He was loose entering turn 1 and kind of backed the car up into the fence, but just a little bit of damage he'll pick up as we hit lap 66 of 160.
Second place, Matthew Close. He's going to dive onto the apron to pit this time. I believe that only leaves 2 drivers on old tires, Carwile and Lakatos, on the racetrack. And right now, Jeremy Miller is still right in front of AJ Stravato, actually. This is for the effective race lead. Jeremy not giving it up too easily. They're trying to look low. He can give it to him. This is for the effective lead in the race.
Through 3 and 4, the 33 looking high. Miller just not going to have the tire to hang on to this, so he's going to fight him for a moment and probably let him go by at some point. Down to the bottom of the racetrack goes AJ Stravato, and he will go through to the race, what will cycle to be the race lead.
Carwell's hoping for a yellow. He has the whole field lapped right now, I believe, so he's just hoping for a yellow to come out, trying to catch everyone down a lap right now, but the effective top 4 right in a line right now, just about to run up on him.
Carwell running good 2 seconds off pace from the other drivers, but see if he stays out a little longer or if he'll come and hit pit lane.
Yeah, you just said over the radio he is going to pit this time, so he's not making it to lap 80. If you can't make it to lap 80, I don't know why you'd run it out that long, but you will have a big tire advantage on the rest of the field, I suppose, if you can make that time up. But he's probably going to go a lap or two down here because of how long he ran his run.
He definitely will, but I think he's playing the long game here. I'm not sure. I would have rather had this race been split up into equal thirds rather than, kind of go to this, I guess you'd call it the 40% mark or 45% mark. This is kind of a weird time to come to pit lane, but Carlisle's strategy worked out pretty well for him at Charlotte, and I don't see why this one would be any different. We'll see if it works out. Again, we're not really judging the efficacy of strategies until we hit lap 160, Connor. We've seen everything under the sun work at some capacity at some point. So who knows?
Another thing to look at as far as strategy goes, people might have been trying to play those halfway points. Top 5 get halfway points. We're 10 laps away from that. Right now, top 5 Stravato, who's going to cycle up to the race lead this time by. We got Adam Cabot second. Bailey Turner, I believe, is fourth, behind Jeff Wright, who's third. Miller trying to hang on for that 5th position, but Joshua Banks is actually not Joshua Banks. Trying to see who's 6th after all that shaking up. Bryce Calusa, who's actually 4 seconds back of Miller. So Miller might be able to save himself to get at least a bonus point here.
Jeff Wright chasing Adam Cabot. Cabot has been running like a rabbit from the cat as Jeff Wright is trying to get up to the 77 to make that pass, but I think Cabot gets stronger over the course of the run, and Jeff Wright kind of stays around the same pace. I think Stravato was a little bit quicker at the beginning of the run and then fades slightly. We saw that in the first run.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're probably going to see here today. We'll see if the rubber kind of changes the track at any point. But Cabot, what was the problem for Cabot on that first run? He didn't have good track position. He started 7th, took him a while to get those tires safe enough to start making moves into the front. Got all the way up to 2nd before green flag pit stops, had that slide on the pit road, and now he's going to be having good track position to get up to that lead. The leader in Stravato might have a run at him at the very end of the run. Meanwhile, here comes Carlisle to unlap himself. He actually is only 1 lap down, so he will get back on the lead lap if he can get up to Stravato.
Carlisle going a long way around some other traffic. Trying to unlap himself at least once. That would put him only 1 lap down. Still needs to gain a whole other lap back to be on the lead lap. Whoa, big slide there underneath 33. That got a little dicey, but Stravato lets him go through.
Stravato has no business to be. Stravato has no business to battle him pretty hard now. He's trying to keep a decent lead gap right now, just like Bell was doing to him. It's not really working out too well, but he does still have about 3 or 4 tenths on Cabot, although that 77 is definitely charging up to the front, as these top 3 are pretty much away from everyone else now.
Working lap 76 of 160, approaching the halfway point of this race. And so far, we have not had a single caution flag to slow the progress of the day. Well, we got a bit of a lull in the action.
Wow.
Reminder, we're not. What's going on?
So, sorry, I just saw Devantier had a big slide out of turn 4. I thought you just said yellow, and I saw him sliding. I thought you jinxed it, but he was able to save it somehow.
Let's have a look here as he comes out of turn number 4. How big was this slide? Oh, he got on the apron. Whoa!
Ooh, that is a save right there. My goodness.
Going back to what I was saying is that next Tuesday, which is January 5th, the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series returns to Sim TV with their Daytona duels at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll have a new graphics package debuting on Tuesday with a lot of other additions and changes. It'll be myself and Connor Horn in the booth. And then the following Sunday, the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series finally makes its return to Sim TV to begin a 17-race schedule spanning from January all the way to September. It'll be myself and 4-time winner in IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, Tom O'Gorman, calling that series. Be with you on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern for that one.
Sorry, battle for the lead here. Sorry to cut you off there. Sorry, that's not a battle for the lead. I'm sorry I cut you off. I thought that was Cabot. It was flipping cock.
They have similar paint schemes. Can't blame you on that. We are going to have a battle here, though, as Cabot is closing, whipping the tail out of the exit of turn 4, closing on that 33. Halfway next time by.
I'm looking at the battle for 5th right now because Jeremy Miller on his old tires is holding up a whole train of cars right now. A lot of them are lapped down, but Calusa trying to get that extra bonus point away from Miller. I don't think he's going to be able to do it, though. He's got to get by all this lap traffic.
There's Brian Chambliss. He is the lap down going through. You mentioned Bryce Calusa up to 6th place. This is the car I mentioned earlier in the broadcast. I thought we'd have to keep an eye on. There's Alex Bell, the leader of the first 54 laps of this race. He's now buried 2 laps down. Without a caution and some clever strategy, this 15 is going to be buried in the field, which is such a disaster because he was probably the fastest car out there on the racetrack and was conserving tires very well, was managing the race very well, Connor, but sometimes it's just not meant to be.
Yeah, he's in trouble here because he got a lot of drivers that are 1 lap down, and because of his penalty, he's 2 laps down. He's also 2 laps down along with Joshua Banks, who's in front of him. So even if he did get up there in front of Banks, he's still got a lot of drivers who probably need to take the wave around right now. His race is pretty much done unless he gets a flurry of yellows here soon.
We have not had a single caution flag. That's sort of been par for the course for Outsider Racing League lately. We went caution-free at Talladega not too long ago. Of course, no cautions at Sonoma, and surprisingly little attrition there as well. So Outsider Racing League has been doing pretty good with the car contact lately, of which there's been very little.
Yeah, it really hasn't been much, wrecking at all so far this.
Caution.
As we say that, I knew that was going to happen. I knew you were trying to jinx it.
There's our caution flag.
Devantier's destroyed.
Yeah, just past halfway, Devantier just completely destroyed. And out of turn 4, gets up in the marbles, gets into the fence, bounces off, and that's going to hurt. Oh, right in front of Tim Downey Jr. He got a big piece of it as well.
Oh, man. He killed him right in front of a leader. Stravato just had he's destroyed as well. Downey through the grass. His race is done as well.
Yeah, that was a pretty gnarly hit for the 25. Here's another look at that.
He was tail end of the lead lap, I believe. He was about to go a lap down. He had nowhere to go there. Just came up right in front of him.
Pace car almost got a piece of the quarter panel as well as that came out of the pits, but Tim Downey Jr., that car is destroyed. So just past halfway now, this is what drivers like Alex Bell and Joshua Banks needed. But everyone else is going to come back down pit lane. The tire wear is going to necessitate a pit stop basically every time we get a caution flag. And now I could see cautions breeding cautions here, Connor.
Yeah, sorry about that. It could definitely start to happen. You get one, and a lot of drivers figure this is their chance to get back into this one, a chance to get track position on a late restart. You might not get another restart, so a lot of drivers are going to be thinking they have to get to the front now, and that's where we're going to see a lot of aggression come out in these drivers as AJ Stravato is going to win the race off pit road. Cabot, Wright, Bailey, Turner, Miller, no change there as Miller tried to get in front of Turner there, but yeah, you're going to start to see a lot of aggression on these restarts, and that could turn out to be calamity because that monster is waiting to take a bite. I think he's ready to take a swoop at someone.
Definitely took a swoop at both Tim Downey Jr. as well as Sam Devantier in the 99. Those cars will both be out of the race, joining Austin Carpay as the DNFs so far today. Only 3 out of the 21 car field, but that number is growing, albeit more slowly than you'd expect here in Dover, Delaware. So where are we going the next 2 weeks to finish off the season? I mentioned it earlier. Next week, Newton, Iowa for Iowa Speedway. And that'll be on January 9th. Then 16th will be Atlanta, where we'll end the season as NASCAR used to do. And Atlanta is a whole different animal. That is a crazy racetrack, even with these cars, Connor. That's going to be a fun one. We might be able to see a little bit of multi-groove show up there in the final race of the season.
Yeah, it's because iRacing kind of added that dirty air back into it, so that middle line kind of can come into play here because you got to get away from that dirty air with how badly it affects the front noses of these cars. So I think we're going to see that middle line for a change start to come in through that race. So I think we're going to see a lot of nonstop action there for the championship.
Our first and only caution of the day so far here for the Outsider Racing League at Dover.
Look how many guys are risking everything to get the wave round. Joshua Banks is there. Chambliss, who's, I believe, getting back onto the lead lap. Same thing for Casey Lakatos, but then you got Banks and Alex Bell trying to just get 1 lap down, have a chance at a lucky dog. David Mott Jr., Clifton Cockle, Corey Steinhauser there as well.
Fear that the damage has already been done for Alex Bell. The issue, I think, is he had the benefit of the clean air for the majority of the stint that he led out in front in the first 54 laps. He didn't have to pass anybody other than lap traffic. Now this is a totally different area to be in. You're going to be stuck in the middle towards the back of the field. Even with your lap back, Connor, it's still going to be an uphill climb for Bell to get back to the front. And we're running out of laps now. We're down past halfway point. It's about 29, 28 minutes worth of racing when we take the green flag. It's not a lot of time to get your stuff back together and drive out to the front again.
Yeah, and on top of all that, his tires are 30 laps old, and it's actually, I think it's going to be close on fuel. I don't think anyone can make it all the way. I think the farthest we saw anyone go was Carlisle, who went just under 70 laps. And in theory, you'd have to save 5 laps on fuel. So fuel strategy might come into play here if we go green to the end. But we know these guys taking away ground can't make it at all. So Bell needs a quick yellow or else he's going to have no chance. Same for Joshua Banks.
Drivers getting their wave around to join the tail of the field again, halfway through the final lap of this caution flag. And our first caution of the day for an issue between Sam Devantier and the 25 of Tim Downey Jr. having a coming together at the exit at turn 4. Austin Carpe was out early in the day from damage also in a similar fashion exiting turn number 4.
And one thing I didn't note there, Jeremy Miller, he got out 5th, but I believe he sped. He's at the tail end of the single file line at the back, so he's got some work to do to get back up into the top 5.
Coming to the restart, lap number 88 of 160. AJ Stravado is your leader, and green flag back in the air, racing again from Dover. Good restart for the 48 and the 33.
There's Bryce Caluso's punter tires there. He almost went up into Bailey Turner and wrecked him. He was able to keep it straight though, and everyone gets away.
So far, so good on the restart here, but AJ Stravado out front now with Jeff Wright behind him. Wright was the winner the last time out at Sonoma and carries a lot of momentum in 3 spots gained. Actually, he got 4 spots gained in the points. And only 4 back from Bailey Turner. Turner's maintaining a gap right now. He's 4th in the race and will probably keep Wright out of the points lead as long as Wright doesn't win this race. But the bonus points sure are helpful.
Jeff Wright's got 1 extra bonus point right now over Bailey Turner. So without factoring race points and all that, just bonus points from this race, I think Bailey has only got a 3-point lead over Jeff Wright. Where they're running right now, Jeff would be 1 point behind. If he can get an extra bonus point right now, he can tie right now. So the points are getting tight. Jeff Wright needs to get a bonus point here to get even closer to that 24 for the points.
And with 2 races remaining, which driver do you think has the upper hand? I mean, I think both of them are pretty good at Iowa and Atlanta. I'd probably give the upper hand to Jeff Wright at a place like Iowa because of its smaller footprint. He typically does better on the short tracks and road courses. And maybe Bailey Turner with the lower grid, faster tracks like at Darlington and Atlanta. I think those are going to be his strengths. And Turner won his first race of the season at Darlington earlier this year. So maybe that 24 has the upper hand in the final race, but Jeff Wright could get a small lead on him at Iowa next week.
Yeah, Iowa's going to be really crucial next week. Whoever gets the points lead there is going to have a real big meltdown, in my opinion, to lose the championship. If you get the points lead going into the finale, it's going to be tough to pass if you just have a strong, clean race at Atlanta. So I think that 48 does have the upper hand. He's got a bunch of time on the 24 on this run, specifically trying to get them at 33, but Stravado's getting away as those two just shot out of a cannon right now. So I think the 48's going to be really tough to hold back for that 24.
Here's another driver that's tough to hold back. There's a 71 of Ryan Carwile going for 5th on the 20 of Bryce Calusa as they come out of turn 4. Going to run the 20 all the way up to the safer barrier. Cross the line this time. Carwile should be able to clear the 20. It looks like the inside line will have the groove, and he almost gets through. 20 car still hanging out there, Connor.
Yeah, he's just trying to do everything he can because he doesn't have a hold of the bottom because Jeremy Miller's there after a speeding penalty trying to get back through the field. Calusa still stuck on that top lane. Going to get the run down in the middle of the corner. Calusa almost into a wall there. The 30 of Miller almost about to be able to get that 6th position away.
And he's got it. Moved Miller up to 6th. Calusa back to 7th. A slow slide on the restart. Bailey Turner has his sights set on Adam Cabot's number 77. That's the Simply and Lawn Tech car right in front of him. And up the road, you see that the 48's keeping the 33 honest. No big lead yet. No lead there that's really expanding. I think we got to keep our eyes on those front two. I don't really think this is going to get much bigger.
Yeah, those top 2 are getting away. I'm wondering how much they are eating into their tires right now. And I'm also wondering, because I talked about how fuel might be sort of close. I wonder if the 77 and 24 might be aware of that. Maybe potentially trying to save. I think 5 laps, because we saw Carwell get the lap 69.70. I think 5 laps is a lot to save, but you just really never know. We've seen crazier stuff happen.
Eric Hutton got Matthew Close in behind him. Matthew's actually been having a pretty decent night. Started 9th, running 9th, but I'm about to grab 8th place away from the 88 of Eric Hutton. Stabilizing with the throttle through turn 4.
Yeah, you got to be really careful on the throttle. If you throttle up too much out of the corner, you are going to spin yourself out, and I think everyone's done a really good job of not doing that tonight. As Close is going to get that 8th position away from Eric Hutton. So a decent pass there by Matthews. He's got right front damage right now, but maybe has some as well. Everyone's sort of hit the wall. Just about half the field, at least, have hit that wall. So I wonder if we're going to see any more drivers get some right front damage.
Casey Lakatos working over 10th place away from Brian Chambliss. Haven't really seen a lot of Casey tonight. Started at the back of the field in 17th and was pretty much stuck there in the first 2 runs of the day. But after this caution flag, he's taken that opportunity and run with it, grab some track position here up to 10th spot, and continuing to climb and lapping pretty decently speeds-wise. But look around about a half a lap back here is Jeff Wright and Travato still going for that lead. Lap 100 at 160.
Lakatos just kind of got moved up the track by Chambliss. These two took the wave around last time to get back on the lead lap, so at this point they're hoping for a yellow, but they're probably going to beat yellow with how close they are running. This is likely to be for the lucky dog as Chambliss powers by Lakatos for that 10th position.
Lakatos lost that position back to Brian Chambliss, so the 9 car will continue. Moving back forward again, let's keep our eyes on the 77, the 24, and again the 71 car of Carwell. Keep coming back to him. The climb he's had today has been a slow but steady one. Sits 3/10 behind Bailey Turner, about a second behind Adam Cabot. He could get as high as 3rd here in the closing 50 or 60 laps of this race, and still expecting a pit stop, right, Connor?
I think I'd be, like I said, I keep saying, I'd be surprised if these drivers can save 5 laps of fuel, and that's at the least 5 laps. So I'd be surprised if we didn't see pit stops, but you just really never know. Carwell's in a good situation as he stretched his fuel and tires the longest, so if he can just do that a little bit more, he might be in a captain to get a surprise win. And this is something, if he does get up to Bailey Turner's rear bumper, Bailey's not going to let him by because he sees Jeff Wright in 2nd, battling for the race lead. He can't afford to lose any spots. He can't lose any points in that 48.
Whoa, big slide for Matthew Close at the exit of turn 4. Held onto it, bit of a tank slapper there. Hutton was not able to take advantage, but the 92 is all off kilter here through turn 2, and there goes the 88 to the bottom of the racetrack. Blitzes right on by.
Gets back by. Close starting to struggle a little bit as we get deeper into this run. Battle for 6th also brewing. The 30 got by Bryce Calusa. Calusa wants it right back to the bottom at a turn 4 to 30. Has to really lift. I don't know if he learned anything. Might still be wearing that right front out too much as Calusa's back by.
Calusa hangs on to 6th for now. 55 laps to go next time by. Again, we're still expecting that pit stop. You could make it from here if you wanted to undercut and pit now. I'm not sure we'll see anybody necessarily make that move. Corey Steinhauser is on pit lane. Been a troublesome night for the 65. I think he sort of knew coming in tonight that this was going to be a challenging one for him. And he's kept it on the racetrack. It's still in one piece. It is a dented piece, but it's still in one piece. And we'll get back rolling here.
Yeah, about 5 or 6 laps down right now. Just trying to run around and get to the end. Trying to just learn how to run this track. Because Dover's not a track where you just get up and go. You have to practice this track if you want to be good at it, without a doubt. I'm starting to look at the leaders' times. Stravato at 23.2, same for Jeff J. Wright. Cabot a 10th faster, so I think he saved a little bit here. Starting to close back in on those top 2.
Yeah, Stravato, though, again, he's doing the same thing that Alex Bell was able to do earlier in the race, where he's just managing this gap. He's not giving away any time. He's not really pulling away all that much. He has slightly expanded the lead to 0.7 of a second, but that's still easily catchable if someone wanted to light the afterburner here in the last 50 laps or so. Keeping a distance. There is lap traffic up ahead, though, and that is maybe my bigger concern for Stravato, is how you can negotiate traffic with a little bit of dirtier that we're still experiencing with these cars.
Yeah, lap traffic almost came into play last season. I believe I got turned by Brian right in front of whoever the leader was. It might have been Yusuf Ghali, but I remember getting turned in front of leaders. I thought the leader, the top 2, were going to run into me, but luckily nothing came of that. They just lost some time, but you got a lot of guys who are about to get lapped who aren't going to give up too easily. Casey Lakatos trying to stay on the lead lap after taking the wave around. Alex Bell, if he goes 2 laps down again, it's probably race over for him. And Joshua Banks in the same situation. Brian Chambliss not too far up the road as David Mott Jr. gets out of the way. A lot of drivers probably aren't going to give the 33 that much room.
Remember that this is all for the championship. In 3 weeks' time, we're going to crown a champion for the 2020 Outsider Racing League. And then in February, we'll kick things all off again, starting at Daytona. So not a huge amount of time between seasons. But again, we go to Iowa next week and then Atlanta to finish off the season before our short break for Daytona kicks things off again in February in Florida. That's where it always should begin. We have an interesting schedule next season. Connor, do we know if it's public yet? Does everyone know what the schedule is?
I know I don't, so I'm not completely sure.
I do know what's on it, and I'm not going to give it away because I don't know if it's public yet. But I know that there is a road course that is, or two, that is new to this series that we've never run before. That will be very exciting to see stock cars on. So really entertained and excited by what's coming up for the Outsider Racing League this season. Again, as I mentioned.
Whoa! Sorry there. Matthew Close got split 3 wide out of turn 4. I don't know what happened there. He lost a lot of time all of a sudden.
He got the apron again. He's been struggling with that. You see the 65
Wow.
Steinhauser on the outside, Wagner on the inside. 3 wide for a moment. It's a pucker moment for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's definitely not a point in the. That's not definitely not on the track, a part of the track where you want to go full set like that.
So now we've got our field sort of strung out in this green flag situation. Again, we only had 1 caution. It was back at lap 84. We have pretty much been clean and green. Only a couple drivers have bit the dust today. I don't think we're done yet. Now, your prediction, Connor, do we make it to the end green, or do we have a late race caution that's going to scramble things up again?
I think we'll have a yellow. I just don't see what's going to happen. I don't know what the strategy is going to be because, like I said, I don't think these guys can make it on fuel. You might see drivers take fuel only if we get that late into a run where you're so close on fuel, so close to the end. So I don't know what's going to happen. We could see some wrecks on the pit road like we saw just about earlier in the race. So I think there's a lot of stuff that could possibly happen. You got to watch out because it could get crazy. As David Mott Jr. is slow into turn 1, he might have had a wreck or two.
That car's got a little bit of pieces bent up left and right. Does he have a tire down maybe?
It's got the left front all bent up. I don't know if that would have, might have hit the inside wall. I don't know if he has one down.
He does have a tire down.
He does. He did take the wave around, so that could be a product of that.
Near the tire flapping. I think it's the right front. Let's see if he comes, or it might be the left front. It's a little low.
I think it's got to be the right front.
Heels on into pit lane. Heard the tire flapping around, so it's definitely out on that car. Meanwhile, out front, though, AJ Stravato, not phased at all, continues to lead. Now, 77 a Cabot. It's closed in slightly on the 48 car. And Alex Bell has gone another lap down again. He's back to 2 laps down. This has got to be such a frustrating day. Started off on pole, his first career pole in ORL, then went out and led the first 55 laps of this race. It has been since stuck 2 laps down. It's going to be a horrible finish for him, considering the pace and start that he had.
He might have a tire going down. Another driver who took the wave round's got to be careful here, as he might have had the fastest car in the field, but that's how crucial it is not the speed at a track like Dover. The speeds are fast and the track is small. If you speed here, your race is pretty much done, and that's what happened. He took the wave round trying to get back in it, but it just wasn't meant to be. He's going to need a lot more help in these last 40 or so laps to get back into it.
Bryce Galusa has been threatening the tailpipes of the 71. We have not seen this position change hands lately, but he is putting pressure back on that 71 Orion Carlisle. There's the 15 of Alex Bell hitting pit lane. Last pit stop of the day in desperation, perhaps to get some of that track position back.
They probably couldn't make it on fuel or tires any longer there. Joshua Banks is probably going to dive in soon enough, as he's still right in front of the race leader, Stravato, trying to stay 1 lap down and hope for that yellow. Matt Wagner's on the pit road. Jeremy Miller also on the pit road. Miller's on the lead lap, and he's pitting pretty early. I guess this is a start to potentially the strategy starting to play out.
Well, I think AJ Stravato better think about what he wants to do, because Jeff Wright is going to make that decision for him if he gets by. So Jeff Wright is close back in on the 33 car with 40 laps to go. We got a battle for the top spot here at Dover.
Jeff lost a lot of time going to the middle there. He lost all the time he got back. I think that's smart for Miller. He's kind of pretty much cutting this final run in half, which is really what you want to do. It does put him at risk as getting trapped 2 or 3 laps down, but if it plays out green like we expect it to, it could be a winning move for Miller, depending on how much track position he can.
AJ Stravato in behind the 36 of Joshua Banks. Needs to make pretty short work of him here.
Remember these two getting into each other. I think Banks hasn't forgot about that. What do you think?
Oh, it doesn't look like they've forgotten about it. They've got longer memories than most people do.
Him. Here comes Jeff Wright. That's going to hurt Stravato.
Oh.
Stravato's going to block him. He's going to get pushed into turn 1. Banks isn't letting him go. Stravato up the racetrack, and here comes Wright for the race lead.
Side by side, 33 and 48 behind the 36 car, throwing the roadblock as they come out of turn 2.
Stravato's not going to be happy about that. Stravato just said over the radio, "You better move," and I think Banks is about to get moved, and he's not going to have anything to say. I think Stravato's got to calm down here, not get himself wrecked, and take himself out of a championship. Banks into the wall. He's going to block him again. Stravato's going to move from here. Yep.
Here he goes. Up the racetrack goes the 36. Stravato's going to dive to the bottom. He's going to get pinched here in the exit of turn 2.
Now, this is a bit extra. You got to be careful here, right? Look at everyone getting stacked up. Bell's in the mix. Cabot's back there. This has a wreck, a big one waiting to happen.
And
here.
Bell's on fresh tires, too, so he's going to be storming through
yeah.
this, trying to make up time side by side for second behind him. Jeff Wright and Bailey Turner, or excuse me, the 77 of Cabot. Bailey Turner's just watching from fourth.
I get Banks is upset about what happened early in the race, but this is a championship battle. You got to be careful. You got Jeremy Miller on new tires trying to get a lap back, and he needs to go. He has no time to waste. Wright's going to block him to the bottom. He's going to push Cabot into turn 2. I didn't even see Cabot.
Whoa.
Got Miller contact with the 30, the 15. The 36 is going to get moved. They're going to be 3 wide. Miller into the wall.
Oh, the 36 gets turned in front of the 77. The 48 car, second in points, is going to squeeze through. Turner gets collected.
The points leader, big damage on the front stretch, and we saw that coming. We saw that coming.
Bailey Turner, the most innocent of bystanders, has his car junked.
And that's what happens when you got lap down cars trying to cause a scene. You get people involved that aren't a part of it, and Bailey Turner just got completely screwed by that. That was big. Jeremy Miller as well on his strategy, completely destroyed.
Let's go back and have a look at it again. AJ Stravato getting into the back of the 36 car, moves him up the racetrack, and it collects Jeremy Miller, who is just a bystander as well. He bounces off the fence. 77 of Cabot spins trying to miss it, ends up during the 30. 48 squeezes through, but Bailey Turner nowhere to go for him. And he's going to get sandwiched here pretty hard into the safer barrier.
That could be a championship-winning move by Jeff Wright. I don't know how he didn't get involved in that. He was able to avoid all of that, and that could be big for him. We'll have to wait and see if that is going to be big for him here. Bailey Turner trying to get on the brakes. Banks just came down the track, and when they wreck it over, you have nowhere to go.
Turner collects worse left side damage than right side, and I'm interested to see how long he'll have to spend here on a pit lane to get that fixed, but it's certainly going to hurt him. Now remember, the points lead coming into the night was 4 points for Bailey Turner. It was 3 after Jeff Wright was able to lead a lap. Wright was able to dodge the 77. The 24 couldn't quite follow through and collected some damage on that car. So now with just over 30 laps to go in this race and only 2 races remaining, battle between those Chevrolets at the top of the point standings is about to get really, really interesting.
Yeah, Bailey Turner can't recover because of that damage. It's going to give Jeff Wright and AJ Stravato. I think Stravato might have a chance to get the second if the 24 can't get back through the field. And I'm a little bit biased because I'm good friends with Jeremy, but he had a good strategy going there, just got destroyed. And I know Banks was upset because of what happened on like lap 13 when the 33 blocked him. But at the end of the day, it's a championship battle and you're not involved in it. You kind of just got to let it go and just kind of be cool. He blocked them once and he kept blocking them. Sooner or later, 33 is going to get sick of it because he's got 3 or 4 drivers racing for the lead right behind him. He's got to go or else he's going to get passed. So I can't really blame Stravato for doing what he did there. It's just unfortunate that it got more drivers involved, but that's as much on Banks as it is Stravato there. Just I don't see anything there that was necessary.
Yeah, there's typically a situation when it comes to retaliation in terms of blocking and that sort of deal. As long as the punishment fits the crime, I'm fine with that. I don't really know if that was that big of a deal what happened earlier in the race. I'm not sure it was necessarily needed to for that situation to occur, but either way, it's over and done with, at least for those guys. Stravato was able to keep the lead. I just feel for Bailey Turner, who was wrapped up in it without he's coming back down again. He's got more significant damage I think he would like to have.
Yeah, that's another thing. He got it wasn't that big of a deal. It was a block. It was a big block by Stravato, yes, but nothing else happened after that. The 36 didn't get back to him. They had no other altercations on track. And like you're saying, the memory just got to Banks. Banks just was probably driving C in red. He saw the 33 coming up to lap him. Banks had to stay 1 lap down to have any chance of getting back into the race. So he was seeing red, seeing Stravato about to lap him. He just kind of got in over his head, trying to make a scene of something that really didn't need to be a scene at all. And you might have just potentially taken a driver out of a championship race in Bailey Turner. Jeremy Miller wasn't too far back as well. You could have just taken him out of contention for the championship as well. That's at least 2 drivers taken out of a championship battle over something that's just really not serious at all and shouldn't have even happened on the track.
Well, deep breath now for the final 30 laps of this race. We'll have 31 to go at the restart. That's only about 12 minutes worth of racing. So this is an opportunity now. What is one man's misfortune is another man's treasure. And in this case, it's Jeff Wright with this opportunity coming off of an immense run at Sonoma where he just went out and crushed everybody. And here he is sitting in second with 31 laps to go with the points leader he was chasing buried down the order in 7th with some significant damage. This is all Jeff Wright's for the taking here. I don't think he needs to push. I don't think he needs to go win this race. Just finish second. Just do your job and come home with a good, solid top 5 finish, and you're going to gain points and walk out of here with the points lead.
Got to be on his toes, though. He can't just ride behind AJ Stravado. He's got hungry drivers behind him. Carwile wants another win. Bryce Calusa needs to do something to get back into championship racing. Got Eric Hutton and Brian Chambliss farthest up in the field they've been all day.
Pace car is going to peel off 31 laps to go here at Dover, Delaware, the Monster Mile. The drivers have been more monsters than the track has lately. Green flag back in the air, and already the 48 dives to the inside. Now to the outside as they arc it into turn number 1. And the 24, I think his damage will become very apparent here. If he's got anything left over, it's going to be very obvious.
We'll see if he has any engine damage. Yeah, he is way down on the track. Joshua Banks actually just got black flagged. I don't know if that's related to the incident or what, but I think his day might be done. We'll have to see here. He's just driving through pit road. Yeah, his day's done. For aggressive driving, Chambliss just said it over the radio, so that is a penalty because of how he raced AJ Stravado.
Wow, that's not a penalty you see given out a whole lot here. Usually it's boys can be boys and do, you know, whatever, you can get your fists out and start punching, but I think probably the administrator's in agreement that probably didn't, the punishment didn't fit the crime there. Meanwhile, for the top spot, Jeff Wright is right there on AJ Stravado. He's going to go for it.
He's right on his back bumper trying to get him loose. Look at the block by Stravado. This is the championship battle. I don't think Wright's going to put up with Stravado's blocking. They go way up the racetrack there.
Ran him all the way up to the turn 4 wall. And now they're going to chase each other through turns 1 and 2. Look who's coming, Ryan Carwile again. Could he come out here and win this race? He's got the side-by-side battle for the lead.
It's going to be hard to make it work on the outside for Wright, but with the blocks that 33's putting on him, he's got nowhere else to go. And their teammates, I don't think he wants to move Stravado and put him in the wall, put his race in jeopardy here. Look at the swoop down to the bottom. Another big block. This is exactly what Carwile wants to see.
Huge moves, elevator top to bottom and then back up to the top floor for Jeff Wright. He's going sightseeing. Ryan Carwile, though, has the best view in the house, watching from third as these two tangle for the top spot here at Dover.
I think Wright's going to hit him. Like I said, these are teammates, but they ain't racing like it. This is still a championship battle. And Wright doesn't even need the second position, but that win would mean so much for his points battle, especially with Bailey Turner down the order back in 8th position right now.
Well, the advantage these guys have over others competing like this in the field is the amount of trust that these guys have. They can do moves like this and feel confident that the other can react and respond to it. That's not the typical reaction that you get from another group of drivers in this field. So this trust is going to make this very exciting to watch, but Ryan Carwile is going to hope that they misstep and make a mistake.
Yeah, it's his best option right now, but I think the 48 might be wearing his stuff out a bit too much. Instead, he is still on the back bumper. Stravado, at what point will he hit him? Try to get under him. He looks there, just no room for it, but Stravado's up the racetrack. Wright's all over his left rear. The 33 chops him down.
Nose to tail as they come out of turn 4, Wright only a half a car length back, a quarter car length as they dive into turn 1. I think he's better in 3 and 4 than he is in 1 and 2. Look at this push right here through the middle of the center of the corner. Throttles up, he's there again.
It's his best corner out of turn 2, but he just can't make it work. Look at that move right down to the bottom. I think he caught Stravado by surprise, and now he's got the bottom line. They might make contact out of turn 4. Stravado pinching him as hard as he can.
Oh, they're going to door each other. Side by side on the front straightaway, trading paint, purple and blue, going for the top spot at Dover. And Carwile watching from third. He wants this as bad as they do. Here he comes.
That did a lot more damage to Wright than it did to Stravado. That right front, Dick, got the first incident into that right front as these 3 others, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, getting back into fray. Eric Hutton there out of nowhere. Don't know where he came from to get into the top 5. But Jeff Wright's got to be seeing red. If he can get back to that 33's bumper, I don't think he should hesitate.
We're running out of laps, too. 8 minutes of racing to go. 20 laps in just a moment here, but Ryan Carwile has caught this group, and so has Bryce Calusa, another driver I mentioned we should watch out for. And Eric Hutton has had a very mediocre day, now inside the top 5 and ready to pounce, and Wright is losing some speed here. Next time by will be 20 laps to go, Connor. That might have been the height of that battle.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, that door slam from Stravado, just trying to save it after turn 4, it hurt the 48 more than it did Stravado, so that's going to really make that 48 handle really badly over a long run. That car is probably going to get tighter and tighter as this run goes on because of that right front damage, and I think the 48's just hanging on at this point.
20 laps to go here at Dover, 20 miles remaining at the Monster Mile. And right now backed up to Ryan Carwile's number 71, the Ford Mustang who fought from a 10th place starting spot and won at Charlotte a few weeks ago. Comes from a road racing background, but has lately embraced the oval racing, has actually found more success there as of late. And is now all over the 48, will dive to the inside. This is for second.
Yeah, this is all Wright has right now. This isn't what he needs. He was about to have a really good day if he could have stayed in second like you were talking about, but he went for the lead. It kind of cost him. He got that damage. Now he might potentially drop all the way back to 5th here and not gain as many points on Turner as he would have.
And Bailey Turner has fallen. He's got very big damage on that car, as we documented, down to 9th. He's actually lost position since the restart. 48 is going to continue to lose positions as well. Eric Hutton is going to go by. So Wright, just like Jeremy Miller earlier in the day, got as high as 2nd and has now fallen to 5th. Let's keep an eye on the 71 though, Connor. I don't think he's any slouch either. 6/10 is the gap now.
Yeah, he's still slower than that 33, and I think Travato, I don't know if he's really going to be able to be caught unless we do get a yellow here. Next time by is going to be 16 laps to go. That 33's been strong all race, been top 3 pretty much the entire race, and things have definitely gone his way, was able to avoid that crash, and the guy he was racing kind of gave him a little bit of a door slam, gave a lot of damage to that 48. His Wright's starting to struggle really badly, dropping off the 88 of Hutton even. As Travato, that 33 machine is looking strong. That being said, 71 was way faster last time by, but I think Travato picked up the pace that time by.
AJ Travato has had a phenomenal season. It just hasn't really translated to victories. He has 1 win back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in November. But since we started back in September, it's been a whole bunch of this. Let me just read off his finishes. 10th, 4th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 5th, 2nd, 2nd, a 30th in Chicago, then 1st, 4th, 15th, 9th, and 2nd. An unbelievable season for AJ, but only 1 trophy to show for it. How much would he love to take home the monster and bring home and put miles up on the mantle? That'd be a fun one for sure. But Carlisle is quicker right now, and he is closing that gap.
And this would be big for his points battle with the 24 way back there. And Jeff Wright is dropping back into the clutches of 6th place Brian Chambliss, and he gets those bonus points he's getting a lot of bonus points today as well. He led at the halfway break. I believe he's led a lap. I think he believes he's led the most laps. Right now I have for 7 bonus points, and I think he'd get at least 3 more if he was able to win this race. He might be the points leader after tonight if this thing holds on.
And drivers that don't care about points, the 71 is one of them. The 20 car behind does care. He's 5th in the standings, but not really close enough to do much with it. He is about 16 back from Bailey Turner. Now, he'll probably likely gain a little bit tonight, but it's not going to be necessarily a championship contending event for the 20. Now, we go to Iowa next week. That could change. But for now, I think Carlisle is probably the bigger threat. But let's keep an eye on Calusa as well.
Calusa is actually closing in on Carlisle a little bit, all over his back bumper, same as the 48 was with the 33, as Carlisle gaining a little bit, but just not enough right now, coming to 11 to go next time, but he's going to make bigger gains if he wants to get to the 33s bumper. And on top of that, he's going to have to fend off Calusa here too.
Next time by will be 10 laps to go, 10 miles left in Dover. Half a second between Stravato and Carlisle. Stravato was the quickest driver on the racetrack that time by, but only by 1,000th of a second over Bryce Calusa.
He gained a lot of time on Carlisle this time by. Those drivers getting more occupied for second than they are for the race lead. As now we get 10 laps to go, a 3:27 by Stravato. And Carlisle and Calusa a little bit faster again, but it's just fluctuating back and forth at this point. Calusa loses ground to Carlisle. I just don't think they can make up enough time without help.
Well, the trouble is, if both these guys are faster than the 33, I mean, someone's going to have to lose this race, and I think they're going to do this battle before they get the chance to run down the 33. So one of these two is going to come out the victor. Also, Eric Hutton is not running any faster, but he is sitting in 4th, just out of view of these guys. So I don't think we're completely done kind of pushing drivers out just yet. So Stravato leads by...
Sorry, Matt Wagner came up onto the front of a track and lost Stravato a bunch of time. I don't know what that was about.
That's going to make the battle for the lead very interesting. Now it's down to 0.2 of a second. Carlisle's right there at the 33. I don't know if that helps them or hurts them, Connor.
That definitely hurts Stravato. I don't know. Wagner got slow out of turn 4. I think he had saved it. He was coming to the pits and he just came up onto the track. I'd have to see that again, but that looked uncalled for and just a mistake by the 18. That gives Stravato a little bit of work to do now as the 71's right on his bumper.
7 laps to go now. They're ticking down each lap, 23 seconds worth of time. Who saved tires better, Stravato in the 33, the 71 at Carlisle, or the 20 at Bryce Calusa?
Don't forget about Eric Hutton as well. He's been waiting in the wings in case something happens. I tell you what, Stravato's going to block more than ever now. He's seeing red. He does not want to lose the race off of a lap car, putting him up the track as he gets loose. Carwile hard into the wall.
Oh, he's actually, the 20 car, Calusa, kind of sucker punched the tailpipes of the 71. That's going to damage both those cars to give Stravato all the time back that he had lost behind the 18-0 Wagner. Next time by 5 to go, Connor, and that little conundrum is going to lose him a whole bunch of time.
Yeah, that was big. They got a lucky situation with Stravato getting slowed up by a lap car. Now Carwile just pretty much lost that all back. I think Calusa got more damage out of that than the 71 did, but Calusa was able to get the second. Now the 71's going to drop back to the clutches of Eric Hutton here. Jeff Wright staying stable in 5th. He's pulled away from Chandler a little bit. And then everyone else pretty much scrambled out. Only 9 drivers on the lead lap after that big incident. Lakatos, Matthew Close, Bailey Turner. He's just sitting there at 9th, hoping for something to happen.
Tell you what, though, Bryce got right back up on the horse now. 4 laps to go. And that time by was a 10th and a half quicker. So he's going to have to do that every single lap from here on out. Plus some to catch the 33. But I wouldn't say it's out of the question entirely just yet.
Anything could happen. We saw what happened to 3 with Stravato. It's not quite over just yet. Calusa wiggling that car into turn 3, just trying to turn it dead left as hard as he can. The tires might not like it, but they just got to deal with how the 20 needs to get through the corner. I think Calusa just lost a little bit of time. He's going to need to make big gains these last few laps.
4.5 tenths of a second is the lead from AJ Stravato back to Bryce Calusa. AJ Stravato, a couple seasons ago, seemed like every weekend he'd win a race. This season he's been almost as dominant, just hasn't actually won. He's come up runner-up or 3rd or 4th. With 2 laps to go, AJ Stravato is 2 miles away from picking up a 2nd trophy on the season and gathering momentum at just the right time.
This is going to be big points for him. Like I said, he could come out the points leader after all of this. This is exactly what he needed. 10 points out coming in tonight. Hutton's going to go for that 3rd position on the 71 of Carwile. This is a big night for the 33 machine.
Hutton goes through into 3rd place for AJ Stravato. White flag is in the air, the 33. Earlier this season, won at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the 2.5-mile behemoth, one of the oldest racetracks in the country. That was an important win. But sitting in 3rd in the points with only 2 races to go, the most important win of the season is right here at Dover. The Monster Mile is tamed by AJ Stravato. AJ Stravato wins it at Dover. In a spectacular late race fight with the 48. 20 and the 71.
And he had to get his elbows out for that race win. He had to move a lap car. He had to rough up the 48 a little bit. He had to work for this one tonight, and that's big for his championship hopes. This could not have gone better tonight for AJ Stravato.
Yeah, he did a great job. Cool as a cucumber under pressure. The 48 car really put him through the paces earlier. That was a pretty wild fight. And now he'll come around to do only his 2nd set of burnouts this season, and it's just been such a peculiar year. Up front, running and contending. It feels like he's won a whole lot more races than this. I was surprised to go see that stat and only have a 1 in the column, but he's going to get to celebrate here.
Got drivers complaining in the race chat about tire model, multi-group, and Joshua Banks, among other things. Bailey Turner, one of those guys arguing. I feel bad for Bailey Turner as well. He could have taken him out of a championship race. We'll have to see how the points shake out, but I'm wondering how the admins are going to rule that, because that was definitely something a little extra. But all in all, a big win for Stravato to get him right back into the points fray.
Well, and a heck of a burnout too. He is really putting that car through its paces and did a phenomenal job. Here is a look at your race results. Stravato out of Florida, claiming the victory here at Dover. Then Calusa, Eric Hutton, Ryan Carwile, still a 4th place result. Can't be upset with that. Then Jeff Wright in 5th, Chambliss, Lakatos, Matthew Close brings it home in 8th, Bailey Turner 9th. And that is the biggest tragedy of the day for Bailey, is getting caught in that collision that was not of his doing. He'll lose some points in this and will likely leave here no longer leading the points. Jonathan Hernandez in 10th. Looking down the rest of the order, Jimmy Miller, Alex Bell led the opening 54 laps of this race, sat on his 1st pole ever. And after that pit road speeding penalty, comes home in 12th. Not as bad as it could have been, but worse than it should have been. A couple of drivers towards the bottom, all with crash damage. We'll be back in a moment for interviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Back live here with Bryce Caluso, who finished second place tonight in the number 20 Chevrolet. That was an exciting finish, to say the very least, Bryce, battling with the 71 of Ryan Carwile in the closing moments. But you came on through to finish second after starting the night in 13th. Got a little wild out there towards the end. What was your perspective?
Yeah, I didn't really have the best pace coming into the race. Qualified 13th, like you said. At that point, for me, it was just tire strategy and making sure I had the least wear out of the whole field so I could make up as much ground as I could. My strategy kind of got messed up because of all the cautions. I was going to try to do a two-stopper. It didn't really play out that way, and I got lucky with a couple incidents in front of me. Sorry for Cabot and Bailey, but yeah, I had a chance to the win. I came up a little short, and if I'm going to lose, I'd rather lose to AJ.
Well, Bryce, think about the point situation. You came into the night in 5th. Now, with this second place finish and the troubles for Bailey Turner, you're going to gain some points on those points leaders. Heading to Iowa and Atlanta, do you think you got a shot to somehow sneak up there and take this championship away, or is there still work to be done?
I got to tell you, it's going to be pretty hard to compete with, I believe, Jeff and AJ are in front of me. Yeah, it's going to be tough. They're really good. Iowa isn't really my best track. Atlanta I'm okay at. So we'll just have to see what happens. I'm going to try my best.
Bryce, thanks for talking to us. Congratulations. We'll see you in Iowa next week.
Thank you.
We'll move on now to Eric Hutton, who finished 3rd tonight in the number 88, the Busch car tonight. Eric, tonight it seemed like you started in 3rd, you were running pretty well, but you sort of drifted back to the midfield for the majority of the race, and then at the end kind of snuck your way forward and passed Ryan Carwile for 3rd with only a couple laps to go. Take us through your night and charging back through the field, especially with all the drama happening out front.
Yeah, we had a good qualifying effort. Just lap, I don't know, probably not even lap 10 yet. I just smacked the ball driving down the back stretch, so I got a little right front damage. Drifted back to like 8th or 9th, and kind of hung out there until the big wreck, and made a few positions up and managed to get 3rd about 2 laps ago, I think.
Next week we head to Iowa. We'll finish things off at Atlanta to round out the rest of the season. Your thoughts on those final 2 races? We saw some chaos here. Do you think that'll carry over to the last 2 races, or do you think it'll be a little bit more tame?
Oh, I can only imagine it'll carry on to the next races. Especially Iowa being a little more drivable than some of the other tracks. But yeah, I think it's only going to get more heated from here.
All right, Eric, thanks for talking to us. We'll see you at Iowa next week. Thanks for talking.
We'll see you. Thanks.
Moving on now to AJ Stravato, our race winner. Only the 2nd race that he's won this season. That was a hard stat for me to believe with how good of a season it's been across the board. This is momentum at the right time, AJ. There was a lot of momentum being exchanged earlier with some contact and some words being exchanged. We won't get too deep into that, but your night was spectacular. I mean, it was entertaining to say the least. Take us through your night and what you saw out the windshield.
First and foremost, I want to apologize to Jeff. That's my teammate, and I had to race him really hard. And off of 4, I think with close to 20 to go, I got a little loose, and me and him made a little bit of contact. I got to be better than that. I'd be beyond pissed if I was him, because I know that right front damage really hurt his shot, and I know every point is valuable. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. But clean air is so big here with this new package, and just you can get out front and kind of control the race once you get behind people within a certain amount of car lanes. It's just really hard to pass. But we had a good race and we were having a good run. I thought towards that last run it was going to be really interesting because I think we were going to be really close on fuel. So I was clutching it and just completely missing my line, sometimes clutching it. And then out of nowhere, I just had a lap car just 2-3 laps down, getting my way. And, I blocked him, I think, Banks at the beginning of the race, but that's just fight track position in clean air. But you can't fix Clowner. He's already run into me enough times. And I've gotten to the point where I'm sick of shit and I'm not going to deal with it anymore. So gave him just a slightest little bit of tap, and Jeremy and my teammate Bailey were there, and my teammate Cabot was there, and just really, really crappy situation overall. And I hate being the guy to be around that, but it really stinks to be in that situation. But maybe if cars weren't 2-3 laps down, trying to race other people and gave other people respect, that would have never happened. But good finish. I'm super stoked to win. That's huge for the points, and just to get back up in the points. Hopefully the points lead are close to there. but I have a couple good tracks coming up for me. So that was big, but just a couple things I wish I definitely could have changed about that race for sure.
Well, another win in the wins column. That makes it 2. Indianapolis and Dover. Good luck to you at Iowa and at Atlanta in 2 weeks, AJ. Best of luck to you. It'll be a pretty good position for you to be in the next few weeks.
Thank you, brother. Looking forward to watching those last half of the race. I'm sure that was a lot of fun for you guys to watch.
Super fun up here and less stressful up here as well. So congratulations. We'll see you next week.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, with that, Connor, some strong words out there. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of hard feelings and some feelings still yet to be sorted out. Are we done with this for the season, or is there still more of that drama to come when we finish things off?
I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know what Joshua Banks is how he's going to respond. We'll see if he races Iowa, maybe Atlanta. I would think that the admins are going to be really strict on how he races these championship competitors. So, like I said, we'll just have to wait and see next week at Iowa if he does run. Same thing for Atlanta. And the points situation definitely shook things up there. And I think that's what the admins are really going to be mad about, how the points battle just got shaken up because of a lap car like that. So when he's not in the chase, kind of ruining things, specifically for Bailey Turner. As I'm calculating the points off the on a sheet on my own. I believe Ace Travato did take the points lead, and he took a big points lead compared to where he was. He was 10 down coming in tonight. I believe he has a 5-point lead over Jeff Wright, and I believe Bailey Turner is 6 points back. So Bailey's not out of it, but he lost a lead, and it was big for his points hopes. So those three are going to be right there, right next to each other for the last 2 races, and who knows what could happen. Maybe some outside drivers getting into it potentially, but it's just going to be wild these last 2 weeks for sure.
Well, next week we'll see you in Newton, Iowa at Iowa Speedway for the penultimate race of the season, and then we'll finish things off in Atlanta, Georgia at Atlanta Motor Speedway and finish off this 15-round season of Outsider Racing League. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time here on Sim TV on Tuesday night, the return of the Fuel Mission 22 Premiere Series on Sim TV at 8:45 Eastern with an all-new graphics package, all new music, all new everything. It's all the stuff you love and none of the stuff you don't. We'll see you on Tuesday. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Kyle Heyer with Connor Horn. We'll see you Tuesday.